Hi and welcome, it's Gene from Avstar. Because of what's happening now on YouTube, it isn't just YouTube, restricting and censoring freedom of speech. It's actually the people getting involved and the people that are not listening. And I say, you know what, carry on now. That's why we've moved over to Patron, and we do very little, supply little information on all the current events. And it's down to not just YouTube, but a few individuals. I mean, we've had a stalker here now for well over 2 years, and every other day, if not every day, we get emails off him, and whatever I reply, he puts it on his private so-called Facebook page, and builds up like a posse of people that come and aggravate me on YouTube. And it's very easy to disprove his lies. It's just that, half the time I can't be bothered. So the last time I tried to do it, I showed you my certificate in science. And what did he say? That's just a certificate of attendance. Well, you know what my next step would be? To get my academic transcript out and show you what actually my qualifications are, because it's biology, chemistry, physics, earth science, astronomy, as well as mathematics and a few other things as well, like law and management. So, I've got good qualifications behind me, yet this guy thinks they're just attendance certificates, which is just bizarre. So it would be very easy to disprove him on that. He said that I live in a halfway house and that I live with criminals in this halfway house. Well, it would be very easy to disprove that, wouldn't it? I could just show you a video of my home and the surroundings. There's no one else living here apart from my partner on the weekends and occasionally a few other days of the week, but she is by no means a criminal, and this is no means a halfway house. How would you feel if somebody for 2 years was classifying your partner as a prostitute? But I think a lot of men out there wouldn't tolerate this. If that guy said it to my face, I would do the same thing as what you would if they called your partner a prostitute. You'd probably put your hands around his neck and throttle him, and I would probably do the same. So that's very easy to disprove. This business with the muon detectors, he seems to think that these things can be made for $30. But the singulates, which is the little crystal block which is tuned for the muons when they pass through them, costs me £30 each. And the last time I brought 3 of them, I kept the receipt. I can show you a receipt for £90. I can show you a receipt for the SIPMs. The SIPMs are £117, and they are supplied by an American company. The reason why is because now and then they don't all the time sell them singly, and of course we don't raise enough money to buy them in bulk in anywhere near the numbers that would significantly reduce that. So just the singulate and the SIPM were at £147 Then there is all the little surface mount resistors. Well, you have to buy a box of them. It just means spending perhaps another £100 or so on a variation of resistors, so that you can solder them on the board. Then there are the jacks, so that you can test them on an oscilloscope to make sure if you've got a problem you can find out what the problem is. There are the 8 gate leg transistors on there. There's an 8 gate and I think there's a 6 gate, which are very, very small. They're probably the hardest parts to solder on the actual what's the word, on the circuit board that I buy. And I had to buy minimum 30 circuit boards, which I think cost me, off the top of my head, over £200. So he's talking about this as though these things can be made for nothing, and that the guy in MIT would sell them at $100. Let me tell you something. If he's selling them at $100, I'm prepared to buy or place an order for 10 of them straight away, because I've got plenty of people that want them muon detectors. They're not the easiest to assemble. He seems to think a young kid of about 5 or 6 could knock them up. I doubt it very much. I really do. Certainly not without a lot of supervision. I don't think, to be honest, a child could build them. But, he seems to think that. Now, putting all that aside, the threats that he makes, the emails that he sends are constant, and of course there are a series of videos that he's done on me on YouTube, all of which are driving people away from the channel and reducing the donations because people are believing what he's saying. That's the thing about allegations. You see it with famous people. Once an allegation is made, even though it's corrected in court, that allegation stays with them. It does never go away. And laws have been made in not just Canada where this guy resides, but laws now pretty much all around the country about online harassment and stalking. Yet when I made a complaint to the Canadian police about this guy, they chose not to do nothing about it. I'll even tell you the police officer's name in this guy's community where he's stalking me from online. The police officer's name was Assange. So, if the police won't do nothing about it, and it's law, then it tells me that these laws that for the purpose of protecting people online from matters of such things are not just for the average day people like me and you. They're just for the elite, just like most of the other laws are. They get to break speeding laws repetitively, yet nothing happens to them. They still maintain their driving licence, whereas me and you turn up in court, for a certain amount of speeding fines, our licence withdrawn from us. So there is obviously a two-tier system that has been in place for a long time. Now, I could do all these things to prove my case of innocence, but if you've been following me for 10 years and you don't know that I'm a genuine person, then unsubscribe right now. Simple as that. You don't have to be here because we don't supply our data anymore on YouTube whatsoever. We give it to those people that are covering our back on Patron. And that's a small amount of people, and it doesn't bother me. We've probably got less than 180 people that are supporting us on Patron, and we've got 59,000 on YouTube. And I think that what we've already done is refined the purest gold, and we've moved over to Patron, and we're prepared to help those people with the information that we provide. And I just want to say something before we move on, that if you are in a city and you think nothing's going on right now, you've got the biggest shock of your life, because there are a lot of people that have moved out of that city. They've listened to people like me over the last 5 or 6 years saying that this is obviously the natural progression of this behaviour that we're seeing from governments all around the world, and this is what they're going to do at a specific point in time. You're going to be trapped in a city. Yeah? And if you think you're coming out to the countryside for a bailout from people like me and others, you've got another thing coming. Because we're prepared for you. We've been prepared for you and the nonsense that you're going to cause us for a long time. And we've built up little communities. And we're ready for you because we know exactly what you'll try and do at that point in time. When you have got tired of having the life kicked out of you in the city for what little possessions you own, you're going to think to yourself, I'm heading out into the countryside, I'm going to find a community. That community is not going to be prepared to accept you in because of the amount of people that will be coming out of the city, and they will protect themselves from the likes of many people. And you've been given more than a heads up of things that and how they're changing. And when they went out for freedom of speech, the global order, the new world order or the global order, we all used to talk about this 10 years ago on YouTube, and everyone thought we was tin hats. Now you're seeing it is actually the case. They are a global organised government which are now suppressing freedom of information and freedom of speech. That means the European rights might as well just being ripped up now because they're not honoured by the governments. And that also means the First Amendment might as well also be ripped up if you're in the United States, because you was protected from saying what you wanted, and you was also protected if you didn't want to say anything. That was your First Amendment right, which has been torn up now. They are changing the laws to suit themselves, and what we're seeing is exactly what we saw in our history. Let's take the Roman Empire. Why did it collapse? Because of the level of corruption. How were they treating people? In exactly the same manner. When an enforcing government begins to fail, it starts to break its own laws. They've achieved absolutely nothing long term. Short term, they've waxed themselves rich. Long term, they've just put themselves in the worst situation in which they could have ever put themselves, because there will be retaliation. America right now is gearing up its police force, its army, to deal with civil unrest on a grand scale. It is no secret. We are hearing from police officers that are being told that this is the case, and that we are looking at probably, another civil war happening shortly in the United States. Why is that? Well, because of the corruption. Look at the handling. Oh, and it doesn't matter about whether you like Donald Trump or you like Joe Biden. It doesn't matter about these guys, or you like another one. The point is that whoever you choose now will be no different. When we look at what's happened in Gaza and what is still happening in Gaza, no change. Yet people all over the world have witnessed what has been done in Gaza and continues to be done in Gaza. And I think it's one of Donald Trump's relatives said, well, that's prime real estate, beachfront. So that possibly if Trump gets in, the policies with regards to Israel are not going to change, and that means that the genocide that is taking place in Gaza will still not change. Netanyahu was asked, when will this end, what's taking place in Gaza? He said maybe in another 10 years. So this is set to go on for another 10 years, and whoever becomes the President of the United States is going to support Netanyahu in his plans of what he's got for Gaza Strip. So nothing will change. But why am I doing this video? Because as the Bible said, you would rather believe in a lie than you would the truth. You would rather believe a barefaced liar like that stalker we've got and had for 10 years, who's broken the law and has evaded any criminal charges for his behaviour, and the turning of the backs of the police force and governments in this matter. That's what we've witnessed. There has been no justice, and because he knows that, he's not prepared to stop in what he's doing, regardless of what I do. If I say, here's my academic transcript, he's going to say, you've probably printed it up yourself. Well, then I could say, well, here's my TMA number. Go and contact the Open University where I studied my qualifications. He's going to say something else along the line. And this is what I've found. Every time I've tried to address his issues, he's just spun it round and told, and demanded something else. And at the same time, made me look like a lawyer. Not a lawyer, a liar and a cheat and a criminal, when it's not true. These people like him that have a website similar to mine are obvious what they're trying to do. They're trying to stir up the trouble, get me to mention their name, mention their channel, so that people like you will go over to his channel and see what he's up to. But I'll tell you this, he's got no qualifications in the subject he talks about, just like a lot of them haven't. And I can name 2 of them who are and have been attacking the same people who are attacking me. Sorry, they've attacked people on YouTube like me, like Dutch Sense and myself, and the same 2 people that have attacked Dutch Sense and myself are the same, again, I don't know whether it's coincidence or not. I mean, we got Ben Davison with no qualifications, talks about the sun and writes child's books. No qualifications whatsoever in science. You've got people like David Murillo on Open Hammer Ranch, who put me down, just like Ben Davison puts me down regularly. But they've both got no qualifications, yet they both talk about the same subject. Why is that? It's because they're trying to corner the market in that area of topic. And this guy supports both of those two people. The stalker supports both of these two people. Can you believe that? And that's why we are pulling away slowly from YouTube. Because people believe what they say without checking the facts. And then they become bigots themselves, and harass me even more. And then you see their comments, because they're not in small numbers. You see their comments on the videos that I do, and you start to question whether what they're saying is true or not, without, again, checking the facts. Just like, a lot of the things that's going on now. The thing is, YouTube and the people that view YouTube don't know what is the truth and what isn't. And you know what? They're also too lazy to go and do a little bit of research and check the facts, because if they did, they might realise that what we've been talking about on this channel with regards to CO2, the returning of a glacial period, and the magnetic North Pole, and the grand solar minimum will all have detrimental impacts on everybody living on this earth in the future, if not the near future, and may have already so. When I talk about the simplest things, like there is trouble brewing in the not too distant future, because technology is removing jobs from the workforce, and that's going to mean that people aren't going to be able to participate in a monetary system because they're not able to get a job, which means they're going to have to go on benefits. And with benefits being reduced and not keeping up with the cost of living in these modern times, it means that what the governments are actually saying and doing is saying that we don't care about you. You're in enough ample supply for us to get away with doing what we do. And if you're not prepared to take that job, then guess what? We're going to open the borders and we're going to let people into this country and all the other countries that are prepared to do it. And you know it as well as I do. If you're an American, you know it. Your borders are open and there is no effort to stop them being open. And in fact, people are being helped into the country, just like they are in Europe, in the UK and elsewhere around the world. So, if you're interested in some of the topics that we talk about and you want data, then you should go over to Patron. And if you want things to change on this channel, then when you see these bigots come, don't put up with them. You should be defending me against them. It's obvious who the bad people are. They're the ones with no qualifications in the topics that they talk about. They're the ones that have online shops for you to go and spend your money on. They're the ones that come up with Kickstarter, things, a reason to take your money and not deliver. They're the ones that try and sell you plots of land, because they're imposing devastation that's going to take place. You will need to be in our community and we can sell you a slot. You need to, as a human being, open your eyes. And if you are interested in any of these subjects, then before you put your hand in your pocket and start spending your money, you need to do a bit of research. And don't be lazy. And if you can't be bothered to do something about it, then you should at least be supporting somebody that is. And that's all I've got to say. At this point I'd usually say you take care of your loved ones, But I know for the majority of the people that watch this video, they don't give a blind care in the world about their loved ones. It's clear and obvious to me. But if you're interested in supporting someone that is prepared to do something, there is a link down there. And you know, if you are one of those people that enjoyed the regular data on these issues like the Earth Alpha at a glance and the TriGMAG data on the magnetic North Pole, then join us on Patron, you know, because they're getting everything now. As always, bye for now.